Hello everyone. It's been a while since I made a video, so it's felt like a relevant moment. Because obviously things have been going on a very long time, and everyone it's probably wondering, why can't this just find resolution? So because I am Jewish and it's easier for me to tap into that energy field, just want to share a little bit more about what's going on with that vibration. Not to say that, yeah. All right, so I was meditating last night because I just pray about this every day, like every day. That's all I literally think about. It's actually still affecting my mental health, obviously. I mean, like anybody who's involved in this in any capacity is going to be thinking about it 24/7. So anyways, last night when I was meditating about it, I just got this, like, first of all, just this very strong feeling of, like, just pure anger. Pure anger because obviously there's an entire other perspective of the Palestinian perspective, which is very 100% valid too. It's not the terrorist part, but in my opinion, I think Hamas is using their own people as pawns, and they've decided that the extreme Islamic philosophy of dying for what you believe in applies to everybody, which is not fair. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about innocent Palestinian people who genuinely want peace and prosperity and freedom, to clarify. But jumping back to the Israeli Jewish perspective, well, not every Jew, obviously, but Israeli perspective, I guess, and most Jews. So there's like this really deep feeling of anger because, first of all, you've got like a huge history of persecution that is real, like millions upon millions of people have died, and the entire Jewish population today is like 15-ish million. Maybe 20 if you want to go on the upper end. The entire like Muslim population is 1.8 billion. And if you look at the history of our genocides of the past, of like the Jewish people's genocides of the Holocaust and pogroms and all this stuff, the Inquisition, like all of it, think about how much bigger our population would be today. So already it's like, and I know someone's watching this, they're like, blah, 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 blah. If you're worried about the Palestinians, blah, 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 who cares about your history of genocide, like, when there's one going on in Palestine right now? Oh, absolutely. Like, I'm not taking that away. But, like, you need to understand both perspectives. So here you have a population that would have been much bigger and more powerful. And it's like, it feels like every turn in the past you're getting attacked. And then you finally get to return to your roots, to return to the homeland, which was originally yours. Yes, it's obviously problematic that in that process, Palestinians, the people living there, were evacuated. I'm not taking that away. Like, obviously that's problematic. But Jewish lens, you're back to the roots of your ancestors that you prayed about every year for hundreds of years to be returned to. I mean, that's part of the Jewish prayers. Every year you say, next year in the land of Israel. It's not like we forgot our home that we loved and cherished and really like held as sacred. And it is the number one holy place of Jews. It is the third holy place. Parts of Jerusalem and the Dome is the third holy place of Muslims. So once again, you have a people who is now super diminished in numbers, who has come to survive by really just like taking care of their own. And once you get to Israel, you're then surrounded by forces that keep wanting to annihilate you, like all the Arab nations at the time, probably now too, but who knows. And anyways, like, who are really anti-Semitic in the sense that, like, they don't want there to be a space for both Jews and Arabs in that land. Like, it's like, yes, the Palestinians, that is really unfortunate that happened, but the ultimate goal at that time, I'm talking about, like, let's say like when this was first established, Israel was first established, the ultimate goal was not for the land to be shared. The ultimate goal was anti-Semitism. like the ultimate goal is Jews should not have a Holy Land. Like, we need to understand the history of this. Like, there is legitimate desire, ancient rooted desire for Jews just to not exist. Okay, so we have that. Then Israel exists, and like, I don't know if anyone of you have ever been there, if you're Jewish or not, like I have, and it's like, you know, they have bomb shelters, like essentially they have to be ready at any time for lockdown from terrorist attacks, and they have to just it's not like being like in America. It's like, yeah, you could have a terrorist attack any second. It's like a common thing, you know, like, it's not like, I mean, you're like in a constant state of anxiety and pressure, which if you think about, and I'm not, once again, like, obviously the Palestinians have it a lot worse. Like, if you compare the two, their situation is way worse, but I'm trying to give perspective to this because it's also important. So then you have this people with a history of like being put into concentration camps, and 25 of my ancestors were killed in one, and like, you know, it's like you have this stress and anxiety that like still hasn't healed yet of that experience. And then even when you're in your own, what's supposed to be the Holy Land that's like safe, where you're finally going to be okay, you still have to worry about like terrorist attacks every day. It's like that anxiety, that stuff is like still there. And so then you have to become a warrior nation to protect yourself and all this. So there's just this like deep rooted like DNA of like frustration and anger that we have to be dealing with, that kind of energy coming towards us of just wishing we didn't exist. And that's like historical pressure. That's like goes way deep. That's like deep shit that hasn't healed from like Holocaust and deeper. So in this current moment, let's give that a moment. And you know, this doesn't apply to every Jewish person, but I've definitely seen it. Like, there's still to this day, like, definitely like Jewish anxiety. Like, my parents have constant anxiety. Like, I feel like, and it's not just the same as like normal anxiety. Like, there is still like DNA that hasn't healed yet from this, and it's really frustrating, to be honest. And if my personal prayer is that all of this can maybe help heal some of that like that DNA. Because being constantly anxious is just like an impossible state of being. So anyways, now you have this situation where it's like, you know, what's going on in Palestine and Israel at the moment. And I'm just like feeling like this. It's like, because why is the war still going on? Like, and then another thing to express too, sorry if I'm rambling a little, but it's all relevant. It's like when that first ceasefire stopped early and like the war, like many months ago, you know, I don't think a lot of people realize that that's because Hamas broke the ceasefire by shooting a pregnant woman in Jerusalem. Like, they are doing intentional steps, and you might think, well, they should do intentional steps because look at the situation of Palestine. It's like, yeah, okay, like, we can get to that. That's true. But like, let's look at the Jewish perspective. The Jewish people really protect their own. So yeah, like, they're gonna super value that life, obviously. And Hamas broke the ceasefire by killing a pregnant woman in Jerusalem. Like, you know, they're intentionally doing things in order to trigger this like anger. And unfortunately, because I don't think that philosophy is like, you know, you're a hero. Like, if you sacrifice your life, you know, like, then you're like a hero. That's just a very different philosophy. So I think that them triggering this thing, which they very successfully triggered for sure, is like, it doesn't, I just think it's really important to when we think about the Palestinian people, like, it's very important to remember how bad Hamas is for them too. Because now we have this concept that, like, there's this belief that Hamas is justified, and it's like, it's horrible acts of rape and murder of infants. It's like, no, like, we don't have to like choose sides, like like that, like let's we don't have to justify that for like this situation to be shit and to like work towards peace. Like, let's not. So anyways, they did everything they possibly could to trigger the thing in the Jewish DNA. And I think, you know, it's important to remember there's a spectrum of beliefs. I think Netanyahu is particularly conservative, orthodox, outdated. Like, he has a certain belief set. But either way, it triggered this thing, which is like this giant dragon head that's just like so angry that they just can't live in peace. You might think that Jews are trying to get more and more, but honestly, we just want to live in fucking peace, okay? So now you've raised the dragon's head, and I'm just seeing this image of the dragon like realizing how angry it is and how it's gonna like bust out the fire. And it's like busting out the fire on Palestine, and it's like trying to like just pick up the people as fast as it can and just move them before it explodes the fire. Sorry to be like intense, I don't want to trigger anybody, but like that's what's happening. Like, it's like they're trying to like move the people out of the line of fire before all that rage comes out. And like, I mean, obviously that's, when you think about it, and all the people who have died, like, it's horrible. I think it could have been significantly worse even, but that's what's going on. I don't know what else to say. Two from one root. May they both find peace. If you're praying, that's what you need to be praying for.